In the beginning, something went wrong. This is the hidden story of creation, according to the Gnostics, an ancient and heretical Christian faction that dared to question the very nature of existence, a tale of cosmic rebels, divine deception, and the ultimate escape from a false reality. Welcome to the Rumination Room. This is Gnosticism and Creation. Before we can even begin to talk about the origins of the universe, we must first talk about Gnosticism, a theology seen today as heresy by the Christian Church, but widely discussed and accepted by swaths of populations in the early turn of the first millennia. During the same period that early proto-Orthodox Christian views were being spread and talked about, even centuries before the Council of Nicaea worked to establish the biblical canon, there was Gnostic Christianity. Across the Mediterranean and the Middle East, North Africa, and Europe, Gnostic ideas were thought of and argued about and existed among the same conversations of proto-Christian views and older Jewish Orthodox ideas. So then, what differed among these Gnostics and their cousin philosophers of Christianity? And why is it now seen as heresy or even a cult? The differences can be mostly summarized in three ideas. The role of Jesus, because yes, Gnostic Christians still believe Jesus to be a divine messianic figure. The idea around the entity of God himself, the concept of the Demiurge, an entity we talked about in our last video. Then finally, the idea around creation, of the universe and humanity itself. The final aspect is what we will talk about today, how Gnostics view the creation of reality, humans, and ideas of divine beings and true gods beyond. Most of what we know about Gnostic ideas are formed by a set of mysterious texts, once thought long lost but rediscovered in December of 1945 near the Egyptian town of Nag Hammadi. Tucked away and hidden inside a sealed cave, a man named Muhammad al-Saman made the discovery of a lifetime. This was a collection of codices and many ancient writings, works of the Corpus Hermeticum, translations of Plato's Republic, though partial, and many Coptic works of Gnostic Christian treatises and Gospels, including writings such as the Gospel of Thomas, the Gospel of Philip, and 3 copies of the Apocryphon of John, among many others. The last of which, though, we will be drawing a lot of our knowledge about Gnosticism. The Apocryphon of John is written as a letter containing dialogue between the resurrected Jesus and the Apostle John. This book, not accepted by Orthodox Christianity, and even considered heresy itself by many, when coupled with other found texts and many teachings of Gnostic ideals that already had survived the centuries, creates a rich theological tapestry that gives a far different perspective on the origin of the universe, Adam and Eve, and even the identity of God himself. In the ideas of Gnostic Christianity, the beginning had only the pleroma, the divine realm, and the fullness of divine light, in which resided the true high God, known as Monad. From Monad were created the aeons, or the emanations, in 15 distinct pairs. Each pair of aeons represented a different set of ideals or virtues in harmony. Each pair are bonded not only in power and fate, but on a deep divine level. Each action by one mirrored and complemented by the other. The 15 pairs created by Monad thrived inside of the Pleroma. Mind and truth, maternal and love, paternal and hope, comfort and faith, and so on. The last two of these divine pairs were will and wisdom, and it's this final emanation, wisdom, also named by Gnostics as Sophia, where the true story begins. Sophia, inside of the Pleroma, the higher plane, has looked upon all that had been made before her, and she is inspired. She decides to attempt to fashion a creation of her own without her aeon partner, Thelatos or will. This results in a flawed creation, as it was outside the normal balance in the designs of Monad. Her creation, Yaldabaoth, is a twisted being who does not understand its own origins. Embarrassed by her creation, Sophia casts it out of the Pleroma, away from the divine. Being alone, Yaldabaoth believes itself the only divine being, a god with no other. With this false assumption in mind, he crafts his archons, beings that are helpers under his control. Together, they bring forth the material world, the universe, the stars, and planets. They also craft man, Adam. But, as flawed creations of themselves, they are imperfect. They cannot bring about true life. Seeing these actions from the Pleroma and seeking to redeem herself, Sophia, with the help of the high true God, breathed life and divine spark into Adam. Adam receives a path of apotheosis to escape the Demiurge Yaldabaoth and reunite inside the higher plane with the emanations and the higher god, Monad. This concept is called Gnosis, which means to achieve salvation for man through understanding. Yaldabaoth, of course, later discovers this divine remnant inside of mankind. This kindles jealousy and rage inside of him, and he seeks to separate this spark from Adam. He reaches into Adam to remove the Gnosis stored inside him, but Sophia intervenes, having Yaldabaoth pull Eve from Adam's form instead. Eve being a double or a reflection of the knowledge instilled inside Adam, a soul with a twinned pair, mirroring the paired emanations of the Pleroma itself. Seeing that he is tricked once again, Yaldabaoth is enraged and turns on the aspect of Sophia that has reached down into reality. But before Yaldabaoth can strike against Sophia, she retreats back into the Pleroma, outside of his reach. Adam and Eve, containing the divine spark against Yaldabaoth's wishes, gain the understanding of their predicament. They are separated from the Pleroma, inside of a prison of a physical reality and held hostage by the Demiurge who claims to be God. With their existence, Adam and Eve are banished from Eden and thrust out into the material world. It is in this story of Gnostic Christianity that we see a completely new view of the tale in Genesis. Not a changing of the facts per se, but a recontextualizing of the events and figures in the story of creation. Yaldabaoth, the Demiurge, Adam, Eve, even the serpent still exist in this Gnostic view, but their roles and intentions are seen differently to the Gnostics. Most of the details in Genesis remain the same. We have God, or the Demiurge, who creates the physical universe. Then, of course, creates the stars, the sun, earth, and animals. With his archons, or his angels in this new understanding, Yaldabaoth even creates man, Adam. He places man inside of his creation, the Garden of Eden. In Gnostic view, though, it is the monad, through Sophia, or wisdom, that the divine spark is placed inside of Adam. Eve is still created, but she is done so through the wiles of Sophia, protecting Adam from Yaldabaoth. In essence, Sophia is the serpent in the story of Genesis. She slithers into Eden unnoticed by Yaldabaoth and enlightens Eve through the events of her creation. This act protects the divine soul of humanity, keeping in them the truth of knowledge of their reality inside of the Demiurge's creation. Gnosis is the concept of the fruit of good and evil for Gnostic theologians, the knowledge of true good, the monad and the pleroma, and true evil, the Demiurge and his archons. Yaldabaoth seeks revenge on the serpent, Sophia, but she escapes back into the higher plane, and her material physical form is what gets punished instead. Adam and Eve, now instilled with the true knowledge, are thrown into Demiurge's prison, the material world, Earth. But they retain their knowledge and their divine spark, their souls, which lies within themselves. This spark connects them to the pleroma, letting them exist longer, older than normal humans today, same as their descendants, where Adam lived to be 900 years before he died, and his descendants 600, then 400, 300, and so on. Eventually, though, the knowledge of the truth of good and evil, the divine spark, fades in the generations. As all things eventually do, it becomes all but lost to time itself. By the time the age of Noah comes along, humans have lost themselves, and Yaldabaoth sees his chance to regain a hold on humanity. His plan? Trick Noah and his family into believe that he, the Demiurge, is the true God, and wipe out every other person who could remember the truth. And from there, the Demiurge cements himself as God, wrathful, jealous, spiteful, and to be feared. He teaches Noah and his family a new version of creation, the perspective of Yaldabaoth, the god tricked by a serpent, forced to banish humanity for disobedience, and a promise of paradise and return for worship. And from there, we all know the rest. This story is by no means a new idea. While the Apocryphon of John gives us an example of what some Gnostics in the early millennia believed right after Jesus' life, it is by no means what they all believed. The Apocryphon of John seems to align mostly with the Sethian sect of Gnostic beliefs. Other views, especially Valentinianism, have other ideas. They believe Sophia to have split into two, the higher wisdom staying in the pleroma and the lower wisdom being in the material world of the Demiurge's reality. Thus, she stays and guides humans in her own attempt to seek redemption, with her becoming the Holy Spirit. The Gospel of Egyptians, also known as the Book of the Invisible Holy Spirit, gives a different view, indicating a holy trinity of Father, Mother, and Son, born of the pleroma, and recontextualizes Sophia as a cloud of the heavens. And this is by no means an exhaustive list. It is truly a rabbit hole that has no end. Given the context and beliefs contained in these schools of thought, I'm sure you understand why Orthodox Christianity has labeled all of these beliefs as heretical. If calling the God of Genesis evil wasn't enough, stating that there is an entire heaven above him would certainly do it. Despite this, the school of Gnostic thought continues to this day, especially when taking into account the Gnostic views of Jesus Christ and his teachings, and how they all line up with this view of creation. That, though, is a subject for another video. Regardless, what do you all think of this Gnostic take on the creation theory? Heresy? Insanity? How far-fetched are these Sethian beliefs? Let me know in the comments down below. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a like, and if you haven't already, please remember to subscribe for more videos discussing myths, legends, and folklore. And as always, thank you, listeners.